Hi, Math 206. This is Dr. McGathy, and we're starting a unit on area. Our last section, we talked about linear types of measurement. So those were one-dimensional measures, and units of measurement might be like inches, feet, miles, those one-dimensional types of measurements. In this section, we're talking about two-dimensional types of measurements. And the units would be the squares of the units that we talked about in the last section. So think like square inches, that's inches, 1 inch on each side of a square, square feet, square miles, and then there's a couple other units of measurement that's that don't have any one-dimensional counterparts like acres and things like that. All right, so let's talk about using a geoboard. So a geoboard has these pegs that you can put rubber bands around to create shapes. On this geoboard, what you want to do is to find areas by counting squares and counting half squares. So there's two ways to do that. Typically, there's the addition method and the rectangle method. The addition method allows you to subdivide your shape into a number of shapes that you know the area of. And that allows you to sort of just count squares here. So here's what I have. I've got this big square, which has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 square units. And then this square here has 4 square units. This is 1 square unit. Here I've got 2 square units. And again, notice it's 1 unit for the length and say 2 units for the width. So 1 times 2 is 2. And here this was 3 by 1, 2, 3. 3 times 3 is 9. And then here's 1 square unit. And all of these triangles here are half of a unit. So adding these all together, you've got 9 plus 4 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1 plus 1, 2, 3, 4 groups of a half. So it'd be 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. 19 square units. So I would write units squared. Because I'm not sure how I'm measuring these. Are these inches or feet? It doesn't say, so I'll just call whatever this length is would be 1 unit. So then here I've got 19 square units. All right, let's move on to the rectangle method where you bound your whole image in a rectangle and then we subtract off the non-shaded region to get the area of the shaded region. So that would look like this. I'll bound this whole region here in a square. And then I'll break the square, the non-shaded regions. I'll calculate the area of those regions. So here, again, you should notice, we'll see this later, that the area of a triangle is half the length, the base, times the height, because this triangle is exactly half of this rectangle here. So if the rectangle has area base times height, then the triangle will have half that area. So a half, 1, 2, 3 times 2. So this is 6 square units here. Half of that would be 3 square units. Up here, here's a rectangle of which this unshaded triangle is half. So that's 2 square units for the big rectangle. So that's 1 square unit for the triangle. And I can do the same thing here. These 2 triangles, 1, 2, 3 units as the base, 1 unit as the height. So this is really half of 3, which is 3 halves. Same thing here. The area here is 3 over 2, half of 3. All right, so now the area of this shaded region would be the area of the square minus the area of the unshaded regions. So the square is 1, 2, 3, 4 units by 1, 2, 3, 4 units. So that's 16 square units. And now let's subtract off. I've got here 3 plus 1 plus 3 halves plus 3 halves. So that's 4 plus 6 halves, which is 3. 4 plus 4 plus 3 is 7. So 16 minus 7, we get 9 square units. All right, you can try the same method on this shape here. Again, this shape, you can either bound it by a rectangle and subtract off the unshaded regions, or if you like, you can chop the shaded region up into smaller pieces that are rectangles and triangles, and then add up all the areas. So we'll do the rectangle method. We can do both methods and then compare and see that we get the same. So what I'll do is calculate the area of the rectangle and subtract off the area of the unshaded regions. So I should calculate these unshaded regions. This is a half of a unit. I think back here we saw I have 3 halves here and 3 halves here if I broke this up into 2 triangles. So then add those together. This entire shape here, which is a kite, has area 3 square units. Let's see, down here I've got a triangle that's 3 units by 2 units. So half of those 6 square units would be 3 square units. Here's 1 square unit, and here's a half. So now I have the area of all the unshaded regions. I can calculate the area of this rectangle, which is 3 by 1, 2, 3, 4. 3 by 4, that's 12 square units. And I'll subtract off 3 plus 3 plus 1 plus a half plus a half. So that would be 12 minus 6, 7, 8. 12 minus 8, which is 4 square units. All right, so that would be calculating the area of the shaded region by doing the rectangle method. Alternatively, we could have found the area by breaking the shaded region up into smaller pieces. So I would do that like so. This triangle here is a half a unit. This triangle here is a half a square unit. And this triangle here, it's a 2 by 1 triangle. So it's half of 2. It's 1 square unit. And here I've got 2 units by 2 units high. So half of that area, half of 4 would be 2. So now let's go ahead and calculate 2 plus 1 plus a half is exactly 4. So this is using Geoboards to calculate areas.